Right, let's move on now with a look at what's making headlines in the French papers today. Joining me here in the studio, Haxi Myers-Belkin. And Haxi, you're going to be starting with the centre-right French newspaper Le Figaro.
Absolutely. So, François Fillon, the centre-right presidential candidate, has been under quite a bit of fire recently from the socialists and also the far-right National Front. They accuse him of wanting to dismantle France's famous healthcare system. So this is really his response to that criticism. He's penned a piece in the paper and he writes that France's system of social security was once upon a time the best in the world, and that under him as president, it would be once again. Les Echos, meanwhile, is reporting that Fillon is finally correcting his previous policy proposals, that is, pledging that the state would continue to reimburse people for the same medical fees and medicines as it does now. He's even gone so far as to promise that optician and dentistry costs would be better reimbursed by the state than the state under him, that is, than they are right now.
That would be a pretty popular measure, I'm sure. The left-wing daily newspaper Libération, though, it's been poking a bit of fun at François Fillon's foray into journalism.
It has. Le recul, c'est maintenant, reads the headline. Now is the time for backtracking. Now, this is something of a play on François Hollande's 2012 presidential campaign slogan, now is the time for change. The paper goes on to ask whether this signals the start of more policy U-turns from the centre-right presidential candidate. After all, just weeks ago, Fillon did promise a radical shake-up of the system. He seems to have gone back on that quite significantly.
All right, we've also got Le Monde looking at the state of political thinking in France right now. They're talking about the preeminence of liberal policies. Now, here in France, liberal means something a bit different from what it tends to mean in the United States. In other places, it's more about economic liberalism.
Yeah, laissez-faire liberalism, absolutely. The liberal flame is back, we read here, but is it all a little anachronistic, a little backward-looking, asks this paper. The piece argues that Fillon, who wants to slash the number of state sector workers by a staggering 500,000, and his fellow presidential candidate Emmanuel Macron, who insists on the need for a more flexible working market, are actually quite similar. Fillon is a modern-day Thatcher, we read here, while Macron is following in the footsteps of Tony Blair. But both leadership models are seen as a little old-fashioned in the rest of Europe, according to this paper.
All right, well, while I was talking about economy, jobs, that kind of thing, there's a very interesting piece in the same newspaper about something that's talked about quite often anecdotally here in France, workplace discrimination based on ethnicity. But there haven't really been many studies, statistics. Le Monde has been doing some research of its own.
There are some stats now, absolutely. The article reports that a new study has revealed that when it comes to the employment process, there is, in fact, a widespread discrimination against candidates specifically of North African origin. 40 different employers were sent fake job applications from candidates with traditionally French-sounding names and also applications from candidates with North African-sounding names. The fake candidates, were all similarly qualified, but while 47% of people with French-sounding names got favourable replies, that plummeted to 37% among the second group.
All right, I'm sure that will be getting some scrutiny and discussion here in France in the days to come. Sticking with the job market, though, more broadly, the situation of young people generally in the jobs market is being looked at.
Yeah, also not so great, according to this piece in Le Figaro. It's running a piece that states that the unemployment rate among 15 to 24-year-olds is significantly worse than when President Hollande assumed office in 2012. It's up to 27.5% from 25.7%. This, we read here, under a man who'd staked his mandate on getting young people back to work.
All right, the National Front, also the subject of a few articles in the French press today.
Yes, if we look at Le Parisien, their front page is leading with a picture of the party's leader, Marine Le Pen, and asks why her party is eliciting so much attention from the courts at the moment. We then read that the far-right party that of course does have designs on the Élysée Palace, finds itself on the receiving end of a number of judicial probes into the way it's been funding its electoral campaigns. There are accusations of falsified documents, non-existent employees on the payroll, and much more besides. And there's a cartoon in Libération that suggests that this is just the latest headache for the far-right leader. Marine Le Pen is spinning around, as you can see there, trying to deal with the somewhat toxic legacy of her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, on the left, as well as mounting reports of party infighting.
Oh dear, tough times for her. Let's round off our press review of the French papers with the Ballon d'Or, the most prestigious award in world football. It's gone to Cristiano Ronaldo for a fourth time. That's a pretty amazing feat, but it's a victory that's been a little bit tarnished by recent news.
Absolutely, as you were saying earlier, despite recent revelations that the player may have hidden some 150 million euros in tax havens in Switzerland and the British Virgin Islands, we read on the front page of 20 Minutes that Ronaldo has indeed once again been handed the award for his successes at the Champions League and at the Euros. Le Figaro, meanwhile, explains that the Ronaldo phenomenon appears to be stronger than any scandal. The world's best-paid sportsman can do nothing, it seems, to tarnish his reputation.
And that was voted for by journalists, that award as well. So people who I'm sure are very au fait with all the details are still impressed by his footballing skill, which is considerable, we ought to say. Thanks very much. Maxime Belkin, who'll be back later on looking through the international papers for us as well.